right, Navar, then that's the APR that it's created, preparing to live stream the meeting. There's a connection. Zoom has allowed YouTube to connect, and YouTube has allowed, it has to be mutual on both sides, right?
Yeah.
Right, that they both, and there's an advantage to it. And you can think that there's all the time software wants to do it because nobody can, it's still nobody owns all software, right? But sometimes also one of the problems with having some, like the Europeans are saying, some lawsuits going on, they say, hey, you're basically not allowing others to come into the marketplace as well. Okay, so hopefully we have, everyone's required to have their cameras open unless they have some issues. Let Daniel, it's like I just saw you. Make you a co-host. Somehow I forgot that I was going to see you so close. Kept on thinking, this escaped my mind. Okay. And then if you can reach out, Daniel, and see what are the other issues, why we don't have other faces that are along the way. Okay, welcome folks to another lovely evening together that we'll talk about latest things with generative AI, how we can use it in education, how we can use it in business, that we're forming here. And it looks like we have a full house here. So who can any volunteers for to moderate the sessions? Do I have any volunteers that you will? Who is that? Who's the first one? Emerson, thank you so much, Emerson. Anyone else that wants to join Emerson?
I will.
Okay, great, Haley. Okay, so Haley and Emerson, if you can be so kind, let me know if there's something that I need to talk about, because we're having Presley, and then I have Presley, Isa, and Tyler, and Noah, and Alex that need to have their cameras open to discuss. Okay, anything that
No, Presley has an excuse.
Okay, whom?
Presley.
Okay, fine. Okay, and then Alex and Isa. Okay, and if there's some issues there, please contact directly Daniel and let us know. All right. So, Harlan, what do you think we should do today? Any ideas?
I don't know, maybe recap the assignment.
Recap the assignment. What else? Anything else? Boz, what do you think we should do?
I'm not sure.
Okay, what's next week? Do you have any idea what's next week? What's on Monday? Boz?
The exam.
Yeah, the exam, right?
Yeah.
So good idea, maybe, huh? Figure out what that's going to be, huh? If you're not sure.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's what we're going to do, Harlan. We'll go over the assignment. We'll recap the assignment. Some of you have done it. I think it's amazing how this is just evolving. Every week it's getting more features, and soon they'll be cloning all of us, right? And I won't have to come to Zoom. You won't have to come to Zoom. I'll have my avatar. Morgan, you'll have yours, and maybe we'll have a life that we don't even connect with humans anymore. Who knows? Okay, so let me share my screen. Anything else? If you have any other issues, as usual, I'll wait to the end. You can stay with me to have it. You can direct message to Daniel about any, he does the grading for this section for your part. So if there's any issues on that. So we'll start. So let me share my screen. So Haley, you're going to be moderating the chat, and also Emerson. So let me share my screen. Share. sharing is caring, or is it caring is sharing? One of those. I never know which one is first. You see yourselves here, and notice again, Navarre, like we said, you're in the corner right here. The question is, what is the business proposition here to have the live streaming with having the recording? We already have a recording on Zoom, so why even bother with this? Navarre, what do you think? Why even bother doing a YouTube live streaming if we're already having my registered students from this section coming into a Zoom recording? We could do a Zoom recording. In this case, we're using an enterprise version. Only the enterprise version allows us to live stream to YouTube. The free version does not. So if you wanted to do this, Navarre, you would have to have the organization purchase the enterprise version, right, Navarre? So
Yeah.
what would be the advantages, Navarre?
People from like outside the organization can see if you're doing like a presentation or something.
And you could even at this point think about it as a business. It may be people within not only the organization that I give the link to the Zoom, because could I invite other people into our Blackboard,
No,
into our Zoom? Could I?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Because it's like owned by like UM, like you need a
No,
UM.
but can I have, if you think about it, can I have, let me go back here. You see this is my Zoom meeting, right?
Mhm.
This with Navarre, right? This is with Blackboard. But that Zoom meeting has a meeting ID. You see that?
Yeah.
And if I wanted to go to any of these, right? I click on it. Here's how to join. Could I share this with anyone else?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I could. So I could, in my Zoom meeting, I could share, join my URL. I could give this URL, which turns out to be the same every section, right? Of 972-348-447-273. I could share that. So my question becomes, what could I do in my Zoom session if I stop sharing? And my Zoom session here, I'm inviting all my registered students, but let's say we were a company, Navarre, right? And I gave a Zoom meetings, or I gave Zoom webinars. I could share that one, but I may even be able to do what? I could even charge,
Yeah.
right? Because I get to see each participant, right? You get to ask me personally questions. You can share your screen, right? I could even get my co-vendors here that were together supporting it. And then we could say it could be our VIP specials. And then the overflow, I could say, but if you want to watch it in real time, here's the link that you can see, or you could subscribe to our channel, right, Navarre? And you could always see them when the live stream was coming. And in that part, you may even have someone to moderate, Navarre, that YouTube, just like I'm saying here, we're going to moderate what the students want. We could have someone then moderate the YouTube live streaming. If we had a group of people, they could be answering chats, and then somebody could say, on our YouTube channel, Dr. Rush, these are the questions people are having.
Yeah.
And then you could even have like a following in that case that even say, hey, you can follow me for free, but if you want class, let's say we were even a university, if you want class credit, you can be here. And then maybe if you wanted to audit it, we could give another version. And then you could say, if you just want to listen to our lectures and see what's happening, you could do the same. Do you got that?
Yeah.
What I'm saying then, Navarre? So you can see kind of the business idea of promotion of why you would want to do live streaming, and then the difference in recording. I can record to the computer. I can record to the cloud. I can use my screencasting programs, right, to record. How could that be promoted as a business idea?
Well, like you said, you can sell like the courses for people to come in the Zoom, ask you questions, and
Right, you could do a
people.
number for education. You could do it. You could do it in terms of it may be in goodwill.
Hmm.
That it could be like a preview. Maybe you can see, maybe we wouldn't record all our classes. We can do like sections if you want it, or we could say, hey, if you want continuing education, we'll give you an online test. If you want to get more formal, come to certain days. We'll have testing sites throughout the world that we can get in order to get credits.
Yeah.
So you can make it in different ones. Sometimes business people will have a section for business people where you can ask questions. So you can do a number of different ones. You can cut it into little clips. You could put them into like bots that would kind of show you what's happening there. Excellent. So I just want you to think about the business ideas of it. In terms of business, could be education, but it could be outside education as well. Okay, so let's talk about what we were seeing before. Let's talk about what's due. We're always going to what's due when we're going to the assignment. So last assignment, let me just turn this off so I see the exact same thing you do. The assignment for today was the audit assignment was due before class, so before this 5 p.m., the dynamic voice assignment individual, the readings for information securities and the quizzes. And then on March 3rd, remember, is we have an exam. It's in person. Hopefully those that have been under the weather, you'll heal by that time, so we don't have any infections here with each other, and it will be in the School of Business. And it will be March 3rd. So it says right here, the review, the exam one, I've given you a review guide. And you want to thank Daniel for putting this together under the PowerPoints and exam one review guide. So if I go to PowerPoints and documents, I see the review guide. So the exam will take place in the School of Business in room 240 on Monday, March 3rd. The exam, of course, will cover chapter 1, TG1, TG2, chapter 5 and 4. I suggest you come on time. The exam come 10 minutes early. The exam will take the entire class period. If you finish early, you can leave, but you need to check out appropriately. And you remember we talked about Harlan, we talked about backup and recovery. We talked about authentication. And what's authentication? Haley, what's authentication? What does authentication mean? And when we say we always have what? We have open book, open note, open everything,
Yeah.
right? So we
I'm
want
gonna
to
Google it really quickly.
Right. So we want to make sure because we're needed for the exam anyways. But Harlan, did you hear what question I was asking?
Yeah, is it like verifying who you are?
Verifying who you are, authentication. So in order for me in the exam, Harlan, right, I need to see Harlan Ezra. I want to make sure. So I want to make sure you bring a pictured ID so I verified that that is who you are taking the exam. And one of the things that we will do is we're going to be taking the computer, we're going to be taking the exam on the university's computer in the lab, Haley. So what could possibly go wrong? I want to do business continuity. Is there a possibility something could go wrong if we use the university's computers?
the Wi-Fi could go out or something
Wi-Fi
like that.
could go out. What else could be a problem? You think they're completely reliable, all those computers? Could possibly one of those computers be down?
Yeah, so we should bring our laptops just in
Yes,
case.
Haley, right? So I say to myself, I don't want to get stuck, right? That Haley, you're on that one computer, that one freaking computer that it went down. So I said, well, Haley, tough luck, 0. There ain't no more computers that we can use, right? And you say, hey, Dr. Rush, you should have expected to do, you're the maven on computer security, right? That you should have had what? Some backup and recovery purposes. So yes, Haley, everyone in the class is responsible to bring your laptop. Plus on your laptop, you have to have Respondus as on your computer. So exam 1, you're on a roll, Haley. So exam 1's going to be in the School of Business in room 204. If you don't know where it is, Haley, what I suggest you do is this week you find it. So you're not roaming around for, oh, I'm 20 minutes late because I couldn't find it, right? So you want to do backup and recovery, make sure that you know where it is, right? The exam is going to be in person. The exam, as I said, you want to bring a pictured ID. So you have basically, I can then authenticate you that you are who you say you are. And you'll bring your laptop. You have Respondus software on your laptop, just in case that the computers do not work in the lab, right? And it has happened very rarely, but luckily sometimes we have extra computers, sometimes we don't. You know, sometimes in this class, not everybody shows up, right? And then they all of a sudden, Haley, we see a bunch of people who say, and you say, Haley, I've never seen them in the class. Well, they're just showing up for the exam, okay? And this is coming up with, I must give credit to Daniel. Daniel said, hey, why don't they use also one of their sources to study? You can use Notebook LM if you want. I allow you to study any way, Haley, that you'd like. But do we say this is closed book here anywhere? Daniel? Closed book, no notes? Did we? If we didn't, let's put it in. What do you think? It's up to you. But anyways, you know it's going to be closed notes, closed book. That's it. So there's going to be 2 parts to the exam. One will be like the quizzes that you take in the adaptive assignments. It's like the quizzes that you created in Notebook LM. It's like the quizzes that you took in the quiz sections for Wiley and the others. So there'll be around 60 questions, and then there'll be open-ended questions. There'll be 2 parts. You can choose which part you want to do first. In the past, I used to tell people do the multiple choice first and then do the open-ended, but some students say, I have all this information in my mind, I want to do the open-ended first, then I want to do multiple choice. Why should I disagree with that? You got that, Harlan? So you can choose which one you want to do first, but Harlan, the important thing is once you start one, you can't go to the other one and then come back and forth. So decide in your mind already what you want to do first once you study, and then if you want to go to open-ended, you finish all your open-ended questions, you submit it, and then you go on to the multiple choice, or vice versa. You do all the multiple choice, you'll be able to go back and forth in the multiple choice, but you cannot just say, oh, I'll do 20 questions in the multiple choice and then do the open end and come back. You cannot do that. So order's up to you. There are 2 separate tests on Blackboard, and you will get 2 separate grades. These are the multiple choice and true false concepts. These are most of them. You can think that we're going to cover basically through the book of hardware, CPU, the central processing unit, the characteristics, what is input, what is output, show examples, what is primary storage, what is secondary storage, the arithmetic logic unit, the control, the difference between RAM versus ROM, random access memory versus read-only memory, what is volatile, what is non-volatile, what are registers, what's the difference between a client versus a server, and we'll discuss, of course, that we went over software and software. We have an operating system versus application software. What are the differences? You remember we talked about software licensing, privacy, open source. Remember we talked about that proprietary software source. Know the difference between what is data, what is information, what is knowledge, what is the infrastructure, what are components to the infrastructure, who are the personnel. Remember we had the director of security. He was one of our personnel folks. Services, real time. The trend, of course, is doing more and more real time, doing decisions, making it quicker, start doing predictions, forecasting. We discussed security. We had the security officer here. So we need to know what is an exposure, what is a threat, what are vulnerabilities, social engineering. When we're on the internet, what is a secure locket layer? What is a software? Denial of service. What else? Distributed denial of service. The Trojan horse, the backdoor, logic bombs, credential, VPNs, memory, spyware. Remember we talked about the different attacks, intentional attacks versus unintentional. We talk about the idea of security being there's risk. So what do we have to do? We have to analyze the risk. I know I always have risk, but I have to analyze it. What are my cost benefits? How do I mitigate the risk? Data governance. We talked about it. The goals of the data, the different types of controls. Since I have to mitigate it, I have to do some countermeasures. So I can do physical controls, communication controls, access controls, administrative controls. The data hierarchy, where I have the smallest one of zeros and ones is my bit, my byte of characters, my field, my records, my files, my tables, my keys in the table. Remember we talked about what is a primary key versus a secondary key. What's the purpose of it? What does least privilege mean? What is big data? What's the difference between a data warehouse versus a data mart? Non-volatile versus volatile storage. Remember we talked about RAM and primary and secondary, data dictionary, hypertext transfer protocol. When I'm on the internet, my data gets transferred via text. In this case, it is then the S being secure, so it's encrypted, big data, my transactions, transaction systems, and encryption. And then the second part, if I think about the second part, Navarre, is open-ended. So this is up to 3 questions here. And these are the 3 questions. I've given you 7 questions here. One is list and describe 3 user-led practices that can improve digital security, and explain how each practice helps secure digital information using content from your text, lectures, or guest lectures. The second one was when we did as an assignment, compare and contrast local recording with cloud recording. So basically, what's the difference of local recording versus the cloud? Even in your screen recorders, a lot of times you either had cloud recording or local recording. Discuss the benefits of YouTube live streaming and Zoom's remote control features. In what situations you would choose one option over the other? How can these tools support business promotion? Here is basically also on Zoom, a cloud-based screen recorder. A screen recorder that saves to your computer, a combination. Use examples from your assignment to illustrate how you would choose between these full tools, what factors would influence it. Here's on database, define a field, a record, a table. In designing a university database, which data fields are essential, which field should function as the primary key, explain why the primary key is important. Then we talked about data governance, explain how it should be implemented in a university setting. Here's the differentiation. See that's Haley between authentication and authorization. Which of these processes always perform first? To illustrate its importance, provide specific examples of how least privilege, authentication, and authorization were applied in class. Compare and contrast risk management and risk analysis, give examples, and explain Navarre. You see that how Notebook LL was useful when studying for this exam, recommend any fine-tuning for the features, and explore potential benefits for business outside educational usage. You see that, Navarre?
Yeah, I see.
So it's really no, I think on the open end and nothing that you haven't seen before, right? Yes, no?
Yeah.
And that's it on that end. Questions? Any questions? Emerson, any questions in the chat or yourself? Emerson, you have any questions about the exam?
No, we're all good.
Okay, that's great. I'm glad that you're always positive. That's what I like, Emerson, that we're all good and we're doing that. Okay, second part is what Harlan said that we needed to. Harlan, I always lose you in your, you see that when you look at the screen, I always just see your visor. That's the only thing, right? Besides, oh, it's not your visor, it's your hoodie. I just see the top of your hoodie. Okay, so we got that part. So next I want to share then with you, make sure that everybody at least has that assignment done. That assignment was due today on Notebook LM. So let's go to it. So if I read, and I'll just do this. So let's go, everybody go to the audit area. I'll go to courses. I'll go to my J audit. Assignment groups. And if I go to my group 0, you see under dynamic voice AI assignment, it should be a folder. And underneath the folder, it should have everybody's name in the group plus what chapter you are assigned to. Just like in your screen recording, you should have each person in your group and what screen recorder they use. The same thing should be dynamic voice assignment. So if you think about that, Haley, if you think about that, does your group have all listed all the names of everybody under your dynamic voice assignments? If it doesn't, do that now. Do you understand?
Yeah,
Navarre?
I can see. So, like, you mean like, oh, I see, I see. Okay.
I see. I
Sorry.
see. Song like that. I see. Okay, so it's the same thing. So what? So in this case, under group 1, then it should see that Jared, you weren't the only one, right? Or were you the only one that did any work here? So where there was Tess and others. So do that now. Everybody here, Harlan, is your group done already? In this part, does everybody have what?
We'll do that right now.
Do it right now. Why should you lose points on it? Haley, you want to lose points on something so stupid like that? I wouldn't bother.
No.
So do it now. That's what we said in terms of the group here. So it should be then, if I'm looking at that, I should then be able to see in each group. So if I go to group 3, where it's Sabrina, Mark, Faz, and Harlan, right, I should see the same thing. So I have it in this case of TG1, TG2, 4, and 5. Okay, so you can see that. And on the dynamic, then it should be everybody's name there. So you can see here that Sabrina, this is her Zoom recording. This is her notebook. This is her Zoom AI companion, which is nice. Here, reflections, improvements. And the only other thing here, I would, in this case, just to make it easy to see, Sabrina, I would then also put, this case, maybe put some spaces here so you can read it well when you're, because when you look at it, it's a little bit different. I would put a space in between each of those. And then you have here the answers.
I tried to do that for some reason. I like had to keep playing around with it and it's still
Okay, so at least you have it. It's not a big deal. Okay, so you'll have that, and it should be then shouldn't be a reason why I don't have that for the old group. And Sophia, are you the only one in your group? Sophia. And Jose. So I guess there are only 2 people that actually did the assignment. It's their problem. Okay. And they're not there. So if you want credit for it, you want full credit, you have to do this. You should have done it before the time that was spent. Okay. Otherwise, you'll get points off. Okay, the other thing, so we have on here, you have the audit assignment, you have the PowerPoint, you know that you have the PowerPoint, the exam review. And at this point, under Wiley, the quizzes you should have done already. So these should have been done. Wiley, reading and adaptive. You get graded for that as well. If you haven't done it, you'll get points off. But in this case, for instance, if I think about information security, you can think about information security. What is it? You need to know the difference between what are unintentional threats to an information system and what are deliberate threats to information. Sometimes you click on a link and it was unintentional. Sometimes you give a password to someone that you didn't think that there was anything wrong with it. You remember when we had the lecture from the head of security, he said sometimes somebody asked to see your phone for a minute, didn't think anything was it. You unintentionally want to be a nice person. You don't want to, I just need to look at your phone a minute. I just need to make a phone call. My my battery is dead. And in a moment they take out information. Deliberate is when you have bad actors, right? Bad actors causing this. You need to know then the differences between deliberate versus unintentional. What organizations are doing to protect information resources, because I know that I'm always at risk. I know what the case is I'm always, let me just go back here. I know that at this let me just go through this. Sometimes if it's not working correctly, what I like to do is I like to go to Wiley Reading and I'll go to Wiley Plus Resources. If I'm having problems, go to Wiley Plus Resources at the top, and then I can go to Security. And then I can look at my deliberate threats and what organizations are doing to protect myself. So in this case, this is the idea. Mitigation means what, Navar? When it says risk mitigation, what does mitigation mean?
Like try to deter,
Deter, amazing lesson. I want to mitigate, right? When you talk about it, I'm going to have risk, right? You go out of your house, right? And you have a car. You want to mitigate what? That somebody doesn't steal your car. So after you park, you do what? You lock the door, right? You want to mitigate that when possibly somebody can run into you. When you're on the highway, what do you do to mitigate it? You take out insurance, right? It's also, in this case, it's required by law. But some people, do you think some people in Miami are driving without insurance?
Yep.
Yeah, too many, right? and too many in this case. And if they're driving without insurance, they probably have a record that they couldn't even get insurance, right? So it's doing it. So it's the same thing with locking my house, right? That I can think about it. So in this case, the threats, I got many threats that are going to happen. As soon as I get onto the internet, I'm already really at threat. So what you need to do is you have to do a cost benefit analysis, just like you do for a house. If you have Navarra $5 million house and I have a $50,000 house, we're going to do a cost benefit analysis if somebody's going to be doing anything. So you can think about it. When I think about risk, is you need to know a risk is the probability that a threat will impact an information resource. Think about it, Harlan, my PowerPoints. There may be a threat, but basically, I really don't care if somebody basically steals my PowerPoints. Does it have effect on you? Does it have effect on me? No. So I'm not going to go out of my way to protect my PowerPoints. But in that case, if we're at the, if you have, I as a university, Harlan, have your credit card information with your special code, right? I have an obligation to protect that. So you think about, they call it enterprise risk management. I have to figure out what is an enterprise. Everybody in the class needs to know for the test, Emerson, what an enterprise is, because we're going to be using it all the time. So what's an enterprise, Emerson?
It's like
Is
a collection of,
university an enterprise?
yes.
Yes. So what is it? Is it that, are you an enterprise?
No.
No. So basically, enterprise, we can think about it as what? A large organization.
Yeah, that has like
Different departments, different roles of a
right.
number of employees, right? We have a number of different customers. We can think about almost as the student as being the customers. And basically, there's some kind of framework that says, hey, we need risk management. Emerson, were you there when we had the director of resource, our CISO, our chief information security officer? Were you in class that time?
Yeah, I was in class, but I was sick. So I mean, I was paying attention, but you know.
Yeah, you weren't all there. Okay. But basically what he said is, if they get hacked and we get, you know what ransomware is, Emerson? What's ransomware? If somebody comes
It's
in and
yeah, it's
takes over our computers.
right. So it's the money that, you know, the hackers basically will request in order to, you know, give us back the system.
Give us back the system, right?
Yeah.
And I said, well, how about, what do you do if we're talking about the hospital? You know, we have a hospital that the university basically is in charge of. Let's say you got injured and you had to have surgery tomorrow. What would happen if that whole hospital system was down?
Yeah, there would be no surgery because
There'd be no surgery. And think about, okay, you broke your leg. Okay, I'll go an extra day without doing it. But let's say somebody in your family had a heart attack, right? God forbid, right? You wouldn't, life saving, right? You wouldn't say, oh, go to another hospital. What do you mean? Or we're not sure, Emerson, is it your left leg or your right leg? We're not sure what we're supposed to do, right? It's essential. It really is life and death. Those are the things that we think about. So they have another company that's going to deal with their risk management. Well, who was that? They have insurance. They have an insurance company that says, and when I said, you guys have Bitcoin? What happens? They pay off these ransomware, especially hospitals. A lot of times they used to charge $50,000. We'll give you back your system for $50,000. Well, guess what? How much do you think the university charges for just one surgery? It's probably that amount, right? So if I had 50 surgeries the next day or 100 surgeries, it'll be almost, the risk analysis would be worth it for me to pay that $50K But I asked, as a university, how do you think those hackers want money? In what type of currency?
Crypto.
Crypto, right? So I asked him, and he says they take care of it. They don't want to discuss it, but the insurance company probably has some Bitcoin accounts ready to make it. So these are the guidelines to differentiate. That's important to think about it. So this is the key that you need to know. What is risk mitigation? And what does mitigation mean, Emerson? Reducing. So how do I do it? I have to implement what we call controls to prevent some kind of threats from occurring. We're going to go to a lab next Monday. What do I expect? One of the controls is I don't want them to steal all those computers before Monday and we come in there and I don't have a computer to use to test you. So what do I expect the university to do is have what kind of control to prevent that from occurring? You're on a roll, Emerson.
I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that last bit?
Yeah. I'm going to the lab on Monday.
Right.
Hopefully you'll be with me on Monday. And you're going to be taking and let's say there's 50 computers in that lab. And let's say I have 40 students. I have enough computers there that everybody can grab a computer and take the exam. You with me?
Right.
But guess what? Let's say somebody comes in and wants to steal those computers. I'm up a creek, right? Because I can't give the exams, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm asking you so the university knows that those computers, no matter how old they are, have some value to it. So what controls would the university implement to prevent that threat from happening? Tell me what the problem is.
Well, the problem is that we don't have enough computers for
We
everybody.
do. We have 50 computers in the lab. And
Okay.
I don't want those computers to be stolen, right? I want them to be there on Monday.
Right.
So I'm asking you, the university owns those computers. I don't own those computers. You don't own those computers. It's up to the university to do what? Implement a control to prevent those computers from being stolen.
Right.
Can they be 100%? No, but they can do some kind of control. What kind of control would they use? You know the answer. It's such a simple question. You're thinking it's more complicated than it is.
Yeah,
You have
definitely.
valuables in your room. You live on campus or off campus?
It's on campus. I mean, like a lock, right? Like lock it.
Yeah, lock it door. Don't you? You don't want to just leave your door open.
Right. Right.
It's steal your laptop. I mean, you know that. So these are when they say risk mitigation has two functions: implementing controls to prevent, identify threats from occurring. Develop a means of recovery if the threat becomes a reality. What happens if those computers are stolen? Maybe they can give me another lab. So when I come, they say, Dr. Rush, at noon, by the way, those computers are stolen. You can use another lab. Or tell your students to bring their own laptops. Or tell your students you can go to the library and we'll give you a section of the library where they have computers. One, there's 3 common risk mitigation strategy. What does mitigation strategy mean? You told me, Navar. What does it mean?
You try to reduce
Reduce. One is risk acceptance. That means I'm going to accept the risk. Put a note there, Emerson. What does risk acceptance mean? I'm going to accept the risk. And I'm going to continue operating with no controls. And I'll absorb any damages. So they may say, if we got really old, I have my PowerPoints, Emerson. I'm going to accept the risk that somebody's going to steal those PowerPoints. So I say, you know what? They're not worth anything much, Emerson. I'm not going to put any controls on those PowerPoints. And I'll absorb the damage. Or maybe, you know what? I have such a junky car. Nobody's going to steal it. And if I do, you know how much that car is worth? Let's say that car, I could sell it for $500. I'm not going to have as much. I'm not going to put any controls on that. You understand? Versus Emerson, you got a fancy car, right? You're going to put more controls, right? Than I would. Risk transference means what? In this case, Haley, what does risk transference mean?
It means to transfer the risk by using other means to compensate for the loss,
So what does it mean
such
in
as
your own words?
Oh,
Give me one word right here. I'm transferring the
insurance.
risk to what? I'm transferring the risk to what? Insurance. Do you have insurance on a car? Yes, you're transferring.
I do have.
See? That's transferring risk. You're not gonna when somebody bumps into you or somebody on I-95 2:00 in the morning runs into you, you say, hey, contact my insurance company. And risk limitation, if I look at that, it's a risk that it's basically going to say, I'm going to limit the risk by implementing, I'm going to minimize that content. So these are what we call all the time controls. These are the ideas, what they're going to do when they talk about controls. And in controls, then, what I have in security controls is I have basically 3 types of controls in security. And what are they for? They're used to protect my information resources. So just like you protect your other assets, these are implementing controls, basically ways, what you call countermeasures to protect it. What does it include? It's going to be software, hardware. I'm going to use all those security businesses. Were you here, Haley, when we had the security officer?
Yeah, I was. It was really interesting.
Yeah. So what did he say? I was complaining, why do we need Duo Mobile? Right? Why do I have to do that? And he said, what? All those bad actors want to get into our network and get into your computer and steal your data. So what did they try to do? They're trying to give ways in which to give access only to what? The people that I have authority to. I'm going to basically authenticate Haley that you are Haley. And I'm also going to basically gain basically that you're who you are and give you authorization. Remember, there's roles. You have a different role in which? In the regular audit area, you have a different role than in the regular class that you signed up for. This is the key here of access controls. Now, in order to get into the door, Emerson, you'll see in order to get into the lab and into the classrooms, have you seen that you need your card ID a lot of times to get into different rooms on campus? Why are they doing that? They don't want just people roaming around stealing stuff on campus. They don't want, I saw that thing. There was somebody in Shalala, some young woman, 11 o'clock, she's being studious and some guy starts messing with her. Did you see that one? It's just like crazy, so they just want people that at least I feel safe on campus. What do they try to do? They try to do some different ones, physical controls, authenticate who's there. But, part of it is it's an open campus. Universities are different. They don't want to just, Emerson, you have some friends and they're from another university. You want to be able to invite them. You want to be able to invite, family, friends. So I don't want to be locked down. I'm not in a prison. You know what I mean? I want it to be free here and have some fun. So there's always the balance of who I want to let in, who I don't, And so the idea is you can think about access control. As soon as I get into the internet, I have issues. As soon as basically all those guys are trying to attack the university's network, there's a way in which we have denial of service protection. There's a way we don't want them to intrude. There's a way in which they want to put bad software in there to cause problems. It's called anti. Denial of service, protection, intrusion detection. These are communication controls. What does communication controls mean? That through the internet, I just don't want anybody just trying to hack through. So these are the ideas that are important. And then we talk about business continuity. What is business continuity? That possibly we have problems that the university cannot function as normal. Is there a possibility, Emerson, there could be a hurricane? Is there a possibility there could be floods? Is there a possibility there could be a fire? Whatever it is, every organization needs to have a business continuity plan to say, how am I going to protect? And not only protect, Emerson, how am I going to recover? So the perfect example is when you come to the test, and let's say all those computers are basically broken or they were stolen. I have a business continuity plan. What is my business continuity plan for the test? Emerson. Let's say Monday we come to the lab is still in gear, we're there, and they tell me, Dr. Rush, all the computers have been stolen, sorry.
Then we're
But
gonna
I
use
have a business continuity plan. What is it?
use our personal computers.
Exactly. Do I tell you to bring everybody has to bring a laptop? Yes. Do I tell you have to have respondents on it? Yes. Hopefully we'll have internet access. So in that case, I have a business continuity plan. You got it? I have to plan in advance, Haley, that something's not going to work. I have to do my due diligence, right? God forbid, the university is on fire, where, you know what I mean? They say can't come on campus, blah, blah, blah. So we'll find another way to do it at another time. So these are issues in which you need to do of the access. You need to know then, Haley, what do we mean to authenticate someone? Is an organization can use something the user is, something the user has, something the user does. This is what he was talking about, known as biometrics. And a lot of times it's going to be my fingerprint, my palm print, my retinal, my iris, voice recognition. We talked about in the beginning class, voice recognition. I could possibly clone now AI can clone yourself. That's the problem. Okay. Any questions? So what I want to do on Wednesday is go more over a review. Haley, what do you think? And
Yeah, that would be cool.
You do a review of those sheets that I gave you. If you have any questions and you're not sure of, I expect that everybody answer it. And if you don't have questions, I'll propose questions that I think that are a little bit difficult. And then I'll talk about our next assignment as well. Okay. Anything else, Daniel, that I need to cover? Anything? Somehow, Daniel, we don't hear you. But that's okay. Daniel, you want to put in the chat the attendance? So Daniel put in the chat the attendance. Once you get the attendance code, you can take attendance. And then you're welcome to go off on your own. If you need to talk to me about anything, I'm here to answer any of your questions, deal with any of your issues. There's always issues everybody sometimes comes across, and I'm here for it. So it's 7201 is the attendance code. Thank you, Daniel, so much. Thank you for being our lead TA. He's been invaluable. I think he's also helped a number of you, right? So I always appreciate it. And thanks, Haley and Emerson, for taking the role. I put you on the spot today, Emerson, but you managed.
Excuse me, what was the code again? Sorry.
It's in the chat. Did you see it?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
I think my mic's working now.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know what happened.
I know. Who knows? It's not new for us, huh?
Yeah.
A day without an issue is a day that we haven't used technology. That's what I say. So Tessa, are you there? And Caitlin? Are they kind of sometimes?
Remove them if you'd like.
What?
I can remove them if you'd like.
Yeah, are they Tessa, are you there? Okay.